Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Hong Kong film. Big Boss B frames up. Explosive soldiers promote Hong Xing horizontally, traversing the world of Hong Kong. Variety shows in the 1980s, becoming the strongest red stick on Hong Kong Island, but instead facing suspicion and framing from Tycoon B, and being betrayed by former good brothers. Fortunately, activating the explosive weapons system will bring back the strongest warriors on Hong Kong Island. From today on, crazy explosive soldiers, pushing all the way horizontally. Spend 10,000 ordinary explosive soldiers, proficient in firearms, firing bullets without fail. Spend 100,000 yuan to purchase Special Berserker, 1 enemy 10, sweep invincible. Spend 1 million to purchase special talents, business tycoons, legal advisors, weapons experts. Boss B, you framed me. I'll let your whole family die, and those who come out to mess around must be honest. Jiang Tiansheng, I have made great contributions for Red Star. Are you praising Chen Haonan? Don't do that for the dragon head. Sister Fang Ting, I'm very angry now. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Crossing the world of Hong Kong for 3 years. At the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the 1980s. Xiangjiang, Fei Mountain. At 8 o'clock in the evening. On the Flying Goose Mountain under the pitch-black night sky, the mist is hazy. At the foot of the mountain, on a vacant lot, a Mercedes-Benz was parked. In the dark car, the three figures were blurry and the atmosphere was somewhat tense. On. Big Shot B sitting in the back seat broke the silence. You go up and deliver, Anan, and I will keep an eye on it. Remember to inspect the goods. Lin Wen, who was sitting in the passenger seat, nodded, picked up the goods at his feet and got off the car, walking towards Fei Mountain. Just this morning. Boss B informed him and Chen Haonan that they will come to Fei Mountain tonight to trade laundry detergent. The time is set at 9 p.m. There is still 1 hour left before the transaction, so arrive early to avoid any accidents. Lin Wenshou picked up the goods and walked cautiously towards the agreed location on the mountaintop. At this moment, the night breeze is blowing gently on Fei Mountain. The moonlight shone through the thin mist on the mountain, and the mountain path was faintly visible. Lin Wen walked to a vacant land on the mountaintop with his goods, looked left and right for a moment, and stood quietly waiting for the buyer. Just as Lin Wen pulled out a cigarette and was about to light it. Kaka kaka. All around were lit up. Afterwards. Scream. Scream. A chaotic sound of footsteps quickly surrounded Lin Wen. Don't move. Inspector. Lin Wen stood in place with a bewildered expression on his face, and the smoke from his mouth fell to the ground. Before everything could react, Lin Wen was caught in a police car and taken back to the police station. At this moment, the Big Shot B who was guarding the wind at the foot of the mountain glanced for a moment, and a smug smile curved his lips. Almost done, let's go. Chen Haonan heard the sound and started his car, heading towards Causeway Bay. 3 years later. Stanley Prison. In a dimly lit room. Lin Wen lay on the small bed as usual, recalling the scene from back then. After 3 years, he finally figured it out. That night's transaction was set up by Boss B to betray him. I had already colluded with the bad guys and locked him up in Stanley. Who knew this level? 3 years had already passed. The more Lin Wen thinks about it, the more angry he feels. 6 years ago, he traveled to this Hong Kong integrated world. On someone who is also Lin Wen. After traveling for 3 years, I thought I would have the golden finger that appears in the novel. Who knew, after waiting for 3 years, there was no hair left. So he relied on his own strength and sat down from a young man to the position of Hong Xing's top red stick. Just as he was about to reach the peak of his life, He was framed by Boss B and imprisoned in Stanley for 3 years. He is unwilling to accept it. Just thinking about it, at this moment. Bang bang. A sound of knocking on the iron door rang out. Lin Wen. A voice that has never been heard in prison for 3 years. Lin Wen, however, vaguely felt somewhat familiar. However, whether familiar or not, it won't be good for these bad guys to come to him. Lin Wen flipped over and ignored it. Just at this moment. The voice outside the iron gate rang out again. Give you a chance to go out, do you want to? The mature voice fell. Lin Wen opened his eyes, slowly sat up and stretched lazily. Sir, do you think I'm not miserable enough? Just as he finished speaking, he was momentarily stunned when he saw the person at the door. This person is Chen Guizhong. It's the one from the movie, Kill the Wolf, seeking revenge for his brothers. Do not ban Chen Guizhong's use of black to combat Wang Bao. Lin Wen couldn't help feeling a bit puzzled. In the past 3 years, he has never seen Chen Guizhong. Why did you suddenly appear here today? At the moment when Lin Wen was puzzled. I am the newly appointed Inspector Chen Guizhong. Chen Guizhong interrupted Lin Wen's train of thought. You can completely believe what I say. Lin Wen stared at Chen Guizhong and then realized that he had just taken office. The original inspection should have been replaced long ago. Collaborating with Boss B to frame him, sooner or later he will be killed. Seeing that Lin Wen did not respond, Chen Guizhong continued, I want you to go back to Hongxing as an undercover agent. Chen Guizhong finished speaking. Lin Wen was taken aback. Undercover. Being an undercover agent for his bad guy. Who doesn't know, since ancient times, the 2 or 5 sons have never had a good ending. And, this is Hong Kong Island from the 1990s. In this era, there are many clubs that mix with Dongxing, Zhongxinyi, and Liansheng. Once a fight breaks out, it's all a real battle. He was cautious everywhere during his 3 years of wandering in Hongxing. Not to mention being a 2nd or 5th child, he almost lost his life just being a top-notch red stick. Now we're going to make him an undercover agent, aren't we going to send him to death? But if he doesn't do it, he will be trapped in this dark pillar for his whole life. It's no different from dying. He just doesn't understand. Why did Chen Guizhong end up looking for him when so many people were locked down in Stanley? Chen Guizhong seemed to see Lin Wen's confusion. With a heavy expression, he said, a few days ago, our colleagues in the club unfortunately sacrificed themselves. You know, those who come out these days and don't have any skills can't continue to work in clubs. You are Hongxing's top red stick, and you will definitely become bigger and stronger in the future. With you and me working together, Hong Kong Island will surely usher in long-lasting peace. Chen Guizhong's words fell. Lin Wen finally understood. Chapter 2. Golden Finger in Position. Awakening Unlimited Explosion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But with so many clubs, friction has been constant, and it is only a matter of time before a big war breaks out. We need someone with power and influence to collaborate with the underdogs. The old club members are too stubborn, only those like Lin Wen who have been framed and imprisoned are the scapegoats. Combined with some skills, working together will surely lead to victory. However, Chen Guizhong's words interrupted Lin Wen's thoughts. You should also know. It is common for clubs on Hong Kong Island to engage in open and covert struggles, with their heads broken and blood flowing. The risk of living as an undercover agent is much higher, and once discovered, it is definitely a catastrophic disaster. Chen Guizhong paused, as if unwilling to mention it. My previous colleague had his intestines pierced out and his death was extremely tragic. So, the decision is up to you. Chen Guizhong finished speaking. The entire prison fell into silence. Lin Wen was somewhat moved by his thoughts. Chen Guizhong is right. Whether in previous TV shows or in the 3 years after traveling through Hongxing's real experience. Almost all the 2 or 5 cubs, not a single one is a complete skeleton. But if he doesn't accept it, he will be trapped here for a lifetime. Watching Big Boss B spend his entire life at large. He really can't swallow this breath. Lin Wen was just thinking. Think about it, Chen Guizhong turned around. If you're ready, call me anytime. Just about to leave. Chen sir. Lin Wen stopped Chen Guizhong. I'll do it. Chen Guizhong's movements under his feet stopped and he turned to look at Lin Wen. After standing for a while, he nodded. Then he turned around and walked towards the door, saying, "Let him out." As the small iron gate of the prison opened, Chen Guizhong disappeared from Lin Wen's sight. Immediately afterwards, a police officer walked in and placed a set of clothes at the door. He knocked open the door and said, "I've replaced it." Then he walked out of the prison. After a moment, Lin Wen changed into clothes and walked out. Outside at this moment, Chen Guizhong was sitting on a chair smoking. On the table in front of me was a stack of banknotes and a mobile phone. Lin Wen glanced at Chen Guizhong, approached the table, picked up the things on the table, and walked straight outside the door. At this point, Lin Wen, Chen Guizhong's voice came from behind Lin Wen, "Happy cooperation." Lin Wen stood in place for a moment, didn't say anything, and walked out of the prison gate. At this moment, the sky outside is cloudless and clear. Lin Wen stood outside the gate of Stanley, watching the sun shining brightly in the sky. The sunlight fell on Lin Wen's body, and he couldn't help but look up and say, "It's been a long time since I've seen the sun." It's been 3 years. He has been trapped in this Stanley for 3 years. Only he knows how he came through these 3 years. From a top-notch red stick to a staunch prisoner. From a daily life of eating big fish and meat to a daily diet of eating bran and swallowing vegetables. He lived this life for 3 full years. And all of this is thanks to Big Boss B. This time, the big shot B took everything from him, and he will make it even worse to take it all back. Just thinking about it. Suddenly, a mechanical sound rang out. Ding! Awakening Infinite Explosive Weapon System. The system is being activated. Activated successfully. Host is binding. Binding successful. Congratulations to Lin Wen for obtaining the beginner gift pack. May I ask if you want to open it? The sound falls. Lin Wen was taken aback. System. Gold Finger. The Golden Finger, who was 6 years late, finally arrived. Lin Wen couldn't help feeling a burst of excitement. 6 years ago, he traveled to Hong Kong Island alone. In 3 years, I climbed from a small 49 to the top position of the red stick. During this period, his life was on the line several times, but he was unable to awaken his Golden Finger. He has almost given up his expectations for the Golden Finger. I didn't expect another 3 years to pass. The Golden Finger has finally arrived. Novels never deceive me. Open. Lin Wen quickly silently recited in his mind. Immediately after, the system prompt sound rang again. Ding! Congratulations to Lin Wen for obtaining a stamina boosting potion of X1. Beginner level combat proficiency X1. Explosive weapon X20. It has been stored in system space and can be used at any time. Listen to the system sound coming again. Lin Wen was surprised. That's when I realized it. Sleeping trough. Explosive soldiers. Infinite explosive weapon system. He has read in novels from his past life. Explosive troops, as the name suggests, refer to the rapid and massive deployment of troops. It can be summoned anytime and anywhere, and is extremely loyal to its owner. Lin Wen thought and couldn't help feeling a little excited. It's just that we don't need it yet, so we don't need explosive weapons for now. Proficient in using potions and combat. The sound falls. A burst of electric current is spreading through the body. Lin Wen felt that his whole body was instantly filled with strength. It seems like every cell is about to explode. His muscles have become stronger. Sweeping away the previous sense of decadence, my whole body becomes light and lively. Next up. Lin Wen felt a wave of dizziness in his brain again. Then a force surged into my mind. Fighting movements keep flashing in my mind. Lin Wen looked at the clenched fists. I instantly feel like a master of combat. Ding. Successfully used. The character skill panel is as follows. Immediately after, a skill panel appeared in Lin Wen's mind. Host. Lin Wen age. 24 agility. 23 physical strength. 25 strength. 25 intelligence. 19 level. Squad leader, upgrading to the next level requires expanding to 10 territories, skill. Free fighting, mastery, remaining summoners. 0/20 note. The upper limit for normal individuals is 10. Chapter 3. Big Boss Be Shocked. Lin Wen is back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The system sound drops. Lin Wen looked at his skill panel, which was more than twice the upper limit of a normal person. I couldn't help but feel a burst of great joy. Now he seems to be several times stronger than the top red stick he was 3 years ago. Subsequently, Lin Wen continued to observe the panel and discovered a level category that he had hardly seen before. At this point, the system rang again. Level refers to the level at which a character can currently carry explosive weapons. As the territory expands to a certain number, the level will also increase. The higher the level, the more explosive weapons can be carried. Lin Wen listened to the system's broadcast and nodded thoughtfully. Lin Wen watched his changes with a spirited heart, and after a moment, he finally returned to reality. He was framed by Boss B into Stanley, and it is believed that his territory has already fallen into the hands of others. The most important thing at present is to find a place to stand firm first. With the support of the system, it is only a matter of time before he grows and grows. The top priority is to obtain a piece of land, earn money, and survive. Then Lin Wen walked towards the roadside and waved his hand. A taxi stopped and Lin Wen sat on it. Causeway Bay. The taxi is heading towards Causeway Bay. The taxi is speeding on the road. The surrounding scenery flew backwards as if flying. Lin Wen sat in the taxi, watching the increasingly familiar scenery outside the window. His thoughts couldn't help but flood. Back then, Lin Wen, known as the Hongxing killing god, in the martial arts world, was a notorious ruthless person on the road. Once, with one's own strength, he defeated all the remaining forces in Causeway Bay. 20 or 30 people surrounded him tightly, and he directly broke out of the encirclement, knocking down all 20 or 30 people to the ground. When it comes to Lin Wen's name, everyone has to weigh their chances of winning. And back then, Causeway Bay was just an inconspicuous entrance for Hongxing, with a mix of good and bad. It was Lin Wen's desperate struggle. Fearless of life and death, he always bears the brunt of every attack and is injured countless times. Hardly helping Hongxing stand still in Causeway Bay. Directly helping B, who was just a spectator at the time, jumped to become Brother B in Causeway Bay. Admired and respected by Hongxing and even the people of Hong Kong Island. And he did all of this just to become a capable subordinate of the big shot B, and to be the person in charge of the next term. Who knew that not only did he fail to please with his efforts, but he was also suspected by the boss B. He was sent to the bitter kiln after changing hands. Lin Wen thought and couldn't help but sneer. What's the use of being loyal to oneself? In the end, isn't it still the gun in someone else's hand? These days, the ancient wanderers need to use their brains, have money and influence. He is wholeheartedly dedicated to working for the club, and in the end, he is not as good as Chen Haonan, who rose to power by flattering Big Boss B. Lin Wen not only exclaimed in his heart, "You don't need to think, you will always be a fool. At this moment, Lin Wen suddenly remembered two people, Ba Guan and De Tu. These two people were both with him back then. That transaction that year caused him to be caught by the inspection team. He suspected that Ba Guan was also secretly involved in this. I haven't had a chance to think it over yet. Here we are. The driver's prompt pulled Lin Wen's thoughts back to reality. Lin Wen put down his money and got off the car. Standing not far from the nightclub, looking at the billboard under the sunlight, I couldn't help but sneer. Boss B didn't expect it, I'm Lin Wen back. This time, he is bound to stir up a bloody storm, and the old accounts of the past will be calculated clearly. At the same time. Causeway Bay Night Bar. Under the dazzling light. In the mixed air filled with the smell of tobacco and alcohol. Crowds of people shouting and indulging wildly twisted their waists. Completely immersed in the hustle and bustle of extravagance. And on a table in the lobby on the first floor. Big shots B, Chen Haonan, and Shan Ji were sitting on the sofa, toasting, making a lot of noise when getting up and down. Congratulations to my elder brother for being re-elected as the spokesperson for Causeway Bay. Chen Haonan and Shan Ji, among others, raised their glasses high and celebrated with excitement for Big Boss B. Just a few hours ago, Boss B was successfully re-elected as the next speaker. As long as Big Boss B is present, they have a place in Causeway Bay. Don't mention how happy everyone is. Who doesn't know that Causeway Bay belongs to our brother B now? The mountain chicken sitting next to him grinned and flattered. I just came out to make a living these days just for money, territory, and women. Boss B is their big brother, and Causeway Bay will eventually fall into their hands. The Foreskin and Foreskin also responded, yes, yes. The name of Brother B in Causeway Bay has spread throughout Hong Kong Island. Upon hearing the words of a few people, Chen Haonan smiled and raised his glass to create an atmosphere, saying, congratulations, big brother. Everyone else raised their glasses again. It was a lively scene. Just as the atmosphere was filled with joy, De Tian'er suddenly walked in from the entrance of the bar, with a serious expression on his face. Brother B, Lin Wen has come out. As soon as the words come out. The scene of laughter and joy just now suddenly quieted down. Everyone was stunned. Lin Wen. Isn't Lin Wen sentenced to life? Why is it released now? Everyone looked at Big Boss B with a bewildered expression. At this moment, the smile on Big Boss B's face had already disappeared. Staring blankly at the drink on the table with a straight expression. Then he immediately furrowed his brow again, his face looking a bit ugly. Chapter 4. Fight with the Mountain Chicken. Boss B. Can't fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Back then, Causeway Bay and his position were won by Lin Wen. Lin Wen's fame was too great, directly affecting his position as the Boss B. He had to set up a station and stuffed Lin Wen into the police station. During the 3 years Lin Wen was imprisoned, he had a smooth and comfortable life. Coming out now is something he never expected. Chen Haonan, Shan Ji, and others on the side saw the change in the expression of Boss B's face, which also turned ugly. From the moment Lin Wen entered the police station, they never imagined that Lin Wen would one day be able to come out alive. The inspection team, Big Boss B, gritted his teeth and cursed angrily, disrupting the thoughts of Chen Haonan and others. Surprisingly, they took my money and didn't do anything. Originally, Big Boss B wanted to keep Lin Wen locked up in Stanley forever. I didn't hesitate to spend 1 million to buy Lin Wen's life imprisonment. To escape the shadow of Lin Wen's fame, so that Lin Wen can never threaten him. I didn't expect that the people from Aji police station didn't speak up, and now they have been released directly. This makes him very angry. At this moment, a familiar figure slowly walked towards a few people from the entrance of the bar. As the distance got closer, Big Boss B and others gradually saw that it was Lin Wen. Long time no see, everyone. Lin Wen's voice fell and everyone was stunned. As soon as Lin Wen learned that he had been released, he appeared in front of everyone. They didn't expect Lin Wen to come so quickly. And the Lin Wen in front of them clearly felt a bit different from before. They couldn't say exactly where it was different. At this moment, the big shot bee was stunned for a while, and then his face was filled with a smile. Quickly getting up and embracing Lin Wen's hand, he pretended to be excited and said, "Ah Wen, you have finally come back. Over the years, you've worked hard inside and lost weight." Boss B greeted Lin Wen to sit down while speaking. "If it weren't for that accident back then, you wouldn't have gone in and suffered so many years. I've been trying to catch you all these years, but all of them have failed." Boss B said with a look of shame on his face. Upon seeing this, Lin Wen couldn't help feeling a wave of disdain in his heart. Unexpected. Do you Boss B call life imprisonment an accident? A pretentious and hypocritical appearance really makes people feel nauseous. Still catching him. I wish he could die inside. Then Lin Wen gave a faint smile and calmly catered to the big shot bee, saying, "Thank you very much for your concern, Brother B. I have indeed suffered a lot in Stanley in recent years. In the bitter kiln, there is no daylight, and that feeling is suffocating." Upon hearing Lin Wen's words, Big Boss B was taken aback, but a faint smile flashed in his eyes. Lin Wen is really naive, he believes everything he says. It doesn't seem difficult to kill him. Later, Big Boss B patted Lin Wen's shoulder and pretended to comfort him, saying, "Don't worry. My Boss B can sit in the position of a spokesperson in Causeway Bay. You have made great contributions. With just one bite of me, there will be one bite of you." Boss B took out a bank card from his pocket as he spoke. "There's 50,000 yuan in the card, go out and do some small business." Chen Haonan and Shan Ji, who were still surrounded by fog, were stunned when they saw this scene. Glancing at each other. That's when I realized it. Boss B is not taking care of Lin Wen, this is clearly humiliating him. 50,000 yuan is just an ordinary subordinate of them, and their annual tip is more than that. The subordinates who worked hard for Big Boss B for 3 years were dismissed with 50,000 yuan. What a pity. A few people thought, trying their best to conceal the smile at the corners of their mouths and not let themselves laugh. Lin Wen noticed the appearance of Big Boss B and Chen Haonan at this moment. He just can't care about so much now, the top priority is to find a place to settle down first. One day, they will definitely regret what they did today. At this moment, Lin Wen chuckled lightly and said, "Brother B, I'm not coming back for money. I want to continue working in clubs." Upon hearing Lin Wen's words, Big Boss B's smile stiffened. Continue to join the club. Giving Lin Wen 50,000 yuan is already his greatest kindness. Is it okay to come back and join the club now? Did you really take yourself seriously? Then Big Boss B sneered and shook his head, saying, 3 years ago, you were the killer Lin Wen that everyone was afraid of. But 3 years have passed and things have changed. Now it's the world of young people. I can still fight. Lin Wen's face remained expressionless, and his tone was full of irresistible determination. Just a calm sentence blurted out by Lin Wen directly stunned Big Boss B. Can we still fight? This is the funniest joke he has ever heard. Who doesn't know, a bitter kiln is a furnace made by waste people. No matter how powerful a person is, not to mention 3 years, as long as they are locked up for 1 year. If he comes out again, he will be a useless person. Besides, Lin Wen was imprisoned for 3 years. Who can he beat? What an overestimation. However, since he can fight, let him fight. Beat him to death, it just saved him trouble. Okay. Big Boss B chuckled lightly and turned to look at the mountain chicken. Mountain chicken, you have a fight with On. As he spoke, Big Boss B insincerely reminded the mountain chicken, Alvin just came back. Just show the brothers the meaning. Then he turned back to look at Lin Wen and said, if you can beat the pheasant, it means you can still get by. Otherwise, you can take the money and go home to sell fish balls. You can sell a lot of fish balls for 50,000 yuan. Boss B just finished speaking. Okay, Lin Wen agreed directly. The expression, but a cold smile emerged. He knew that Big Boss B didn't even want him to come back. Although the mountain chicken is not a red stick, its strength is second only to Chen Haonan. The people who come out of the bitter kiln are basically recognized as useless people. Let the mountain chicken come out and fight him. Boss B didn't want him to leave here alive. The first day data of a new book determines whether it can be written or not. Ask for a flower, a monthly pass, and a reward. As long as there is one, it will be 10 o'clock a day. The author mushroom is online and irritable to refresh. If there is no data, it can only be cut. As long as there is data, even if it is a flower, the author mushroom will persist. Chapter 5. War with the Mountain Chicken. Donate blood and soar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inside the bar. With the appearance of Lin Wen, the atmosphere became somewhat tense. At this moment, Big Boss B also smiled meaningfully and said to the nearby Mountain Chicken, Alvin has been locked up inside for so many years. Can you help him get rid of the bad luck? Speaking of which, Big Boss B also specifically reminded him, remember, it's all his own brothers, don't act lightly. Hear what Big Boss B said. The Mountain Chicken grinned. Step by step, he walked towards Lin Wen and smiled as he walked, saying, I know Brother B, are we all brothers? The Mountain Chicken said and had already arrived in front of Lin Wen. In the next moment, suddenly punch. Go straight to the heart of Lin Wen. Extremely fast. On the scene, Big Boss B, Chen Haonan, the Tian Air and others watched all of this with cold eyes. Cold laugh, teasing. As one of the ace hitters of Big Boss B, Shanji has also been stained with a lot of blood on his hands in Causeway Bay over the years, using ruthless methods. And Lin Wen. Just a useless person who has been locked up in a bitter kiln for 3 years. Just at this moment. Right in front of everyone's attention. Lin Wen, however, had a calm expression and stood still. Watching the Mountain Chicken, it has already punched. Result in the next second. The Mountain Chicken is sweating profusely. Because he felt like he had hit a stone. Lin Wen is still standing still, motionless. And the strength of his fist was originally returned to him. The Mountain Chicken suddenly became furious. Damn it, street thug. The Mountain Chicken was a bit skeptical, so it turned around and picked up the wine bottle next to it, immediately patting towards Lin Wen. Lin Wen's face turned cold. Dong! Kicked the pheasant 4 or 5 meters away. With the help of a few younger brothers, I managed to stabilize myself. The Mountain Chicken glared angrily at Lin Wen with wide eyes. My forehead veins are bulging. Some anger. At this moment, everyone present fell silent. Many people who wanted to see a joke just now fell silent. Everyone stared at Lin Wen in silence. They suddenly discovered that this Lin Wen. Go over. Now. Still powerful. The expression on Boss B's face also changed from his previous arrogance. My eyes are full of confusion. What's going on? Lin Wen, not only did he not become a useless person. Is it actually stronger than before? At a time when everyone is in shock. The Mountain Chicken slowly stood up. Looking at the gaze of people around. He's a bit impatient and frustrated. Seen by so many people. He can't deny face. Immediately shouted. I'll kill you, his mother. Next up. The Mountain Chicken quickly charged towards Lin Wen and punched him. Kill me. Lin Wen's tone was a bit cold. You're not qualified yet. Then he caught the mountain chicken's fist and broke it up. Squeak. A bone-shattering sound came. At this moment, it seems like the world has become quiet. But everyone feels like thunder piercing their ears. The sound in my ears is exceptionally clear. Ah! The mountain chicken fell to the ground in one fell swoop. Crazy screams. Wailing in agony. Rolling back and forth, it just started rolling. At this moment, Lin Wen still stood there with a calm expression. It seems like nothing has happened. All the subordinates of Big Boss B around have sensed a wave of evil energy. Everyone quickly retreated. Some little brothers stood back and exclaimed in terror. Yen Luo. He's back. At this moment, Big Boss B reacted. An embarrassed expression cast a glance at the pheasant. The mountain chicken understands. Slowly pull out the knife from your waist, wanting to take it by surprise. The result is next second. The mountain chicken is simply foolish. Where's the knife? Why is the knife missing? And instead, there is the piercing pain in the hands. At this moment. Dida. 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 A burst of dripping sound came. The mountain chicken lowered its head and saw it. There are actually 3 fingers on the ground. Next second. The mountain chicken suddenly discovered. My finger was chopped off. Fresh blood splattered all over the ground. And the knife in his hand ran into Lin Wen's hands at some point. Dropping bright red blood down. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. They didn't even see how Lin Wen did it. All fell into a dead silence. Give face to Brother B today. Lin Wen broke the silence at the scene. Otherwise, you would already be a corpse. Later, Lin Wen turned around and asked Big Boss B calmly. Brother B, do you think I have the right to come out and join the club now? Hear Lin Wen's words. Boss B was stunned. It took half a day to react and I smiled awkwardly. With an embarrassed expression, he could only force a smile and say, hee hee. Hee hee. No problem. Aon has been locked down for 3 years, but he's still so fierce. And in this moment. In the heart of Boss B, a sudden idea arose. That's Lin Wen, absolutely not allowed to stay. Upon hearing Big Boss B's agreement, Lin Wen continued to ask. Can you give me back my industries from back then? Back then, those industries were all built with my life, and over the years, these industries have also earned you a lot. Now it's time for the item to return to its original owner. Upon hearing Lin Wen's request for territory, Big Boss B's expression immediately became somewhat gloomy. These days, those who come out to work in this area are money, younger brothers, women, and status. How many people are willing to hand over their territory when they reach their hands? This Lin Wen indeed came from a bad source. At present, Big Boss B's expression also flashed with a hint of no killing intent. But soon the past was overshadowed by a smile. These industries. Since you were imprisoned, it has always been your former good brother, Ba, who has been taking care of you. Nowadays, these industries are all under the name of Ba Guan, and I have no choice. Lin Wen knows the meaning of this statement. No one is a fool for such obvious shirking of responsibility. Boss B just doesn't want to give him territory, what he said is so grandiose. Good people let him do it himself. Lin Wen saw Big Boss B's face clearly and replied with a calm expression, I will talk to Ba Guan when I have time. What belongs to me, no one can take it away. After speaking, Lin Wen threw away the knife in his hand and turned around to leave the night bar. Everyone watching timidly looked at Lin Wen and gave way one after another. Watching Lin Wen's back gradually recede. It took everyone present a long time to dare to discuss. Is that Lin Wen, the god of killing, 3 years ago? Didn't he enter the bitter kiln and be sentenced to life? I heard it was just released today, so it's really him. He's really too ruthless. It feels even more ruthless than 3 years ago. At this moment, Big Boss B looked at Lin Wen's back as he left. Call Ba Guan and tell him to be prepared, said Chen Haonan in a low voice. As long as Lin Wen dares to find him, let Lin Wen have no return. Boss B's voice is deep and hoarse. I want him to die, I want him to die completely. Let him die even more thoroughly than 3 years ago. Chapter 6, Brother Wen. Now is not your time. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, in the old district, in a mansion courtyard. Surrounded by red walls, surrounded by green willows, surrounded by handmade corridors on all sides. The entire courtyard is magnificent, rich and elegant. Occasionally, playful noises could be heard from the lobby inside the courtyard. It is Ba Guan's residence. At this moment, Ba Guan was sitting on the sofa in the lobby, laughing and playing with a group of pretty girls. Both hands were busy making crystal clear salt water. The sound of joy is endless, making people extremely excited. At this moment. Ringing bells. Ba Guan's phone suddenly rang. Damn it. Who is it? I'm in high spirits. Ba Guan took out the phone and glanced at the caller ID. It's Chen Haonan. Ba Guan quickly wiped his hand, indicating that everyone was silent, and then answered the phone. Nange. Chen Haonan lowered his voice on the other side of the phone, his tone very serious. Lin Wen is back, he hasn't died. Chen Haonan's voice fell. Ba Guan was stunned. Who? Lin Wen. Then Ba Guan felt a great shock. Isn't Lin Wen caught in Stanley and sentenced to life imprisonment? Did you actually come back now? Ba Guan thought and widened his eyes, cursing loudly. Lin Wen didn't die. Fuck you. What bad luck. Lin Wen, a dead man, pretended to be a corpse. Back then, when he and Big Head were under Lin Wen's command. Although Lin Wen helped Big Boss B win a lot of territory with them and made a name for himself on Hong Kong Island. But isn't it only Lin Wen himself who ultimately became famous on Hong Kong Island? Everyone knows that when it comes to Hongxing Yen Luo, it is Lin Wen. Who are Ba Guan and De Tu? Not many people know at all. In the end, it's not just working for free. Later, Big Boss B found him and offered him benefits to betray Lin Wen, and he was tempted. It's better to help Big Boss B than to help Lin Wen, who is also working. Boss B is always a big shot, but in the end, Lin Wen is just a tool person who can fight. So Ba Guan teamed up with Big Boss B to deceive Lin Wen's trust through false intelligence. Lin Wen, as they had hoped, was caught in a trap and taken away by the bad guys. Afterwards, Ba Guan took over Lin Wen's property and had to pay double the monthly payment. The so-called contribution is the share given to Big Boss B. Although he paid twice as much as before, now he has finally become his own big brother. Not only do you not have to live under the halo of Lin Wen, but you also have money to collect. Let the big head fool come, he is still wholeheartedly focused on a dead person. If I had opened my mind like him, I would have had a lot of fun playing now. However, Lin Wen's sudden return now is not good news for him. Lin Wen may be coming to see you recently. Chen Haonan on the phone interrupted Ba Guan's thoughts. What Brother B means is. Just take him down and make him clean. Otherwise, let outsiders know that it's not good for Brother B's reputation. Upon hearing Chen Haonan's words, Ba Guan sneered directly. This is just as he intended. According to Lin Wen's temperament, that must be repaid. He will definitely have doubts about what happened back then when he comes back this time. If we find him on the head, we will definitely not let him go. Since that's the case, it's better for him to take action first. Then Ba closed his face and put on his clothes, smiling smugly. He said to Chen Haonan on the phone, so many of my subordinates are not vegetarians. As long as Lin Wen dares to come, I can let him die without a burial ground. Nange, could you please give me a message for Brother B? I know that Brother B's birthday is coming soon. I will give Lin Wen's head as a gift to Brother B. After speaking, Chen Haonan on the other side of the phone smiled and answered before hanging up. Ba Guan also hung up the phone and put it aside. The woman next to her saw Ba Guan's fierce and malevolent face and asked in a sweet voice, Ba Guan, what's wrong? No problem, Ba closed his arms and hugged a horse, leaning against the sofa. It's just a dead person pretending to be a corpse. Later, Ba Guan took the phone again and dialed one of his subordinates named Ah Bao. As soon as the phone was dialed out, it was quickly answered. Big brother. Send over the guys from several farms under our banner who can call, and stay with me these days. I'll take care of everything, including food, drink, and women. After giving the order, the younger brother responded and Ba Guan hung up the phone. The gaze staring out the door was filled with murderous intent. With a sneer, he said, Brother Wen, this is not your era anymore. You were my big brother back then, but now, I just want you to die. Previously, he bowed to Lin Wen and paid homage. But this time, he wants to replace Lin Wen and make him disappear forever. Then Ba Guan threw his phone aside. Laughing, he continued to eat the steamed buns dipped in salt water. On the other side. After Lin Wen left the bar. Arrived at an old residential building in Causeway Bay. Looking at the old building that has been baptized by time, full of wrinkles and cracks. Lin Wen is a bit uncertain. He's not sure if the person he's looking for is still here. Lin Wen walked up the stairs and walked to the doorstep of a household according to his memory. It's still the emerald green iron door, but now some paint has peeled off. Dong dong dong. Lin Wen raised his hand and knocked on the door a few times. A long time later, a dragging sound of footsteps came from inside the door. Kneeling down to beg for a reward, a monthly pass. A fresh flower, if there is one, the author will be at 10 o'clock. Chapter 7. Explosive Weapon Manifestation. Bloody Slaughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Creaking, the iron door opens. A tall and strong person with a decadent face appeared in Lin Wen's sight. The one who opened the door was the big head that had not been seen for many years. The two saw Lin Wen suddenly appearing at the door. I was stunned for a moment. This is Big Brother. Big Head is excited. My widened eyes were slightly moist. You're not dead. I thought. Initially, Lin Wen mysteriously disappeared, but the two struggled to find him. Ask other people in the club, but they keep silent. Later, when the market changed hands, he thought. Lin Wen is dead. Lin Wen appeared in front of him, both surprised and delighted. Big brother, where have you been these years? The two touched the corner of his eye and asked excitedly. Lin Wen just smiled lightly and said, it's nothing. Being locked in a bitter kiln was originally sentenced to no end, but luckily he was released again. Then Lin Wen patted Big Head's shoulder. I didn't expect that so many years have passed and you still live here. Hear Lin Wen's words. Big Head shook his head with a bitter smile. It's good to be alive. Selling some newspapers now barely makes ends meet. Over the past 3 years, he has been selling newspapers day and day. How did it survive? Only he knows a few minutes later. The big food stall downstairs. Lin Wen wears a big head. Sitting at a table drinking alcohol. People come and go on the street. Hurry in all directions. Full of life atmosphere. Are you not working in the club now? Lin Wen picked up the glass in front of him and touched Big Head. The two took a sip of wine and recalled his experiences over the past 3 years. I gave a bitter smile. After Big Brother went missing, I was suppressed by Big Boss B. I can't get along anymore. Since Lin Wen disappeared. Boss B suppresses and excludes Big Head everywhere. In the end, even the big head was forced out of the club. The two is helpless and destitute to this point. I'm not a member of a mixed society. Pouring a full bottle of wine, he spoke in a low voice. I came out earlier than Chen Haonan and the others to mess around. As a result, Chen Haonan and the others are all big brothers. And in the end, I couldn't even survive within the club. After speaking, Big Head shook his head helplessly. I feel a bit guilty for my incompetence. Take a glass of wine into your stomach. Sorry, big brother. The two knelt down and apologized. I didn't hold on to Big Brother's field. The markets, nightclubs, and bars we worked hard to establish. Now it's all in Bhagwan's hands. And now Bhagwan has transformed into a big brother. He also became sworn brothers with Lianquan. Not long after Lin Wen gang went missing. Big Head doesn't know what's going on. The territory they worked hard to conquer. Unexpectedly, all of them were taken over by Bhagwan overnight. Bhagwan changed his previous friendly demeanor and looked arrogant and domineering. Completely disregarding brotherhood. Surprisingly, he drove the Big Head out directly. This makes Big Head angry and helpless. He can't do anything by himself. Lin Wen quickly helped his Big Head up. Watching Big Head wave his hand, he spoke in a low voice. No one can take anything that belongs to me, Lin Wen. Now that I'm back, I want to take everything back. And some old accounts also need to be calculated. Calculating this account will undoubtedly be a bloody battle. Now he's back, he's going to continue to grow and strengthen with his brothers. And Lin Wen knows that Big Head himself is a boxing expert. Really a badass. Add wings like a tiger by his side. So Lin Wen invited the two to come out of the mountain path again. Come out again and work together. Hear Lin Wen's words. The Big Head drank the wine from the cup in one gulp, with a glint in his eyes. A resounding and powerful response. I have been waiting for an opportunity to come out of the mountain again. I have been practicing boxing for the past 3 years, remembering your previous teachings, Big Brother. I am willing to continue to venture with Big Brother. Lin Wen nodded in satisfaction as he looked at the Big Head. Then he turned his head to the street and sneered. It seems that I need to go see my chin closed. Some things should also be returned to their rightful owners. Time passed by in a blink of an eye. The next night, Lin Wen left the hotel where he was staying. Walked to a deserted corner on the street. I silently recited in my mind. Explosive soldiers, all present. The sound fell. Bang bang. 20 explosive soldiers were all presented in front of Lin Wen. Explosive soldiers brush and bow in greeting. Boss. Lin Wen looked at the explosive soldiers who were no different from ordinary people and nodded. He chose to explode his troops in a deserted corner. It's because he doesn't want to perform a big transformation in front of so many people. Let's go. A group of 20.1 people. Drive towards the direction of the Bhagwan mansion courtyard. Soon. Lin Wen has long been waiting for the meeting at the agreed location. The two saw a group of people following behind Lin Wen. Something unexpected. Lin Wen noticed the confusion in Big Head's eyes. So he said directly. These little brothers were recruited by me during my release from prison. Absolute loyalty. The two nodded. Big Brother recruited so many people as soon as he was released from prison. He couldn't help but feel sincere admiration. Where does Bhagwan live now? Lin Wen's words interrupted Big Head's train of thought. After a moment of contemplation, the two replied, the luxurious residential area of the old district of Gloucester Road. Lin Wen nodded. Let's go. Lin Wen calmly issued the command. Take back what belongs to me. Say it. Lin Wen and the two led 20 explosive soldiers. Go straight to the mansion where Bhagwan is located. Old District, Gloucester Road, luxury residential area. This street is the wealthiest area in the Old District. Evil breeds here, with a mix of good and bad. Casino, nightclubs, various entertainment venues. It is a paradise for playing with women and fans, a paradise for sin. It is also one of the places with the highest incidence of crime in Causeway Bay. The Ba Guan mansion is right here. At this moment, in the courtyard of number 18 luxury residential area. Ba Guan's ace player, Ah Bao, is leading his younger brothers in a silver crawl. The music with strong drum beats is ringing. A group of thugs are eating barbecue while singing and dancing with beautiful women. Some people just start taking medication. Away, those horses you found in Elephant Country last time are really impressive. Ah Bao grinned and teased his subordinates. Isn't it, Brother Leopard? That's a man, it's a human demon. Away's voice fell. Everyone present burst into laughter. The atmosphere heated up and started to stir up. Just as the luxury mansion was celebrating. No one noticed. Lin Wen and the two. I have led a group of people slowly approaching the mansion. A bloody slaughter is about to begin. Chapter 8. One knife, one person. Broken limbs and arms. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At a time when everyone is immersed in joy. At this point, Lin Wen and the two walked in directly with their people. Ah Bao saw a group of people breaking into the yard. The hand movement stopped. Others saw the situation and put down their things one after another. Looking at Lin Wen and others at the door with a serious expression. The whole room fell silent, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. In the darkness, by the light, Ah Bao recognized Lin Wen and the two. Immediately, the opponent with a gloomy expression ordered, "Brother Ba closed said. As long as someone you don't know breaks in, just take it out." Ah Bao is the younger brother newly recruited by Ba Guan shortly after Lin Wen's disappearance. With his ability to fight, he quickly became a top hitter under Ba Guan's command. Disdainful and arrogant. Seeing Lin Wen, who had almost become a myth 3 years ago, he didn't show any concern. Just finished speaking. Ah Bao took out his knife and went straight towards Lin Wen. Just the knife in his hand is about to strike Lin Wen's vital point. Shua. A cold light suddenly flashed by. Then, a scene that stunned everyone appeared. Clack. A bloody arm fell to the ground in one fell swoop. Ah Bao was stunned for a moment. I only felt a gust of wind under my arm. Take a look on the ground at the sound. One of his arms. Lying in a pool of blood. Then he suddenly looked at his arms. Suddenly discovered. Blooming crimson blood, splashing. Ah Bao fell to the ground in one fell swoop. Ah! The mournful screams echoed throughout the entire yard. When everyone reacts. Whether it's Ba Guan's younger brother or the big head around Lin Wen. Everyone was stunned. Hurry up. Too fast. No one can see it clearly. What are you doing in a daze? Ah Bao's trembling hoarse voice shouted loudly. Bringing everyone back to reality in one go. Kill him. A leopard's voice fell. Close all the other little brothers. Everyone quickly took out their knives. Everyone roared and rushed towards Lin Wen. Lin Wen didn't care about the siege of the people around him. He carried his knife and walked step by step towards the crowd. Spin around. Slash fiercely. Take every step and waste one person. Everyone has broken necks, with limbs and arms all over the ground. Blood is soaring. Less than a minute. 2/3 of Ba Guan's younger brothers have all fallen to the ground. The remaining 1/3 of the younger brother retreated in fear. Looking at Lin Wen's expressionless face with a frightened expression. At this moment, Lin Wen stood by Ah Bao's side. Step on Ah Bao's head with one foot. Dida. Dida. Blood drips from the blade. Lin Wen's whole body exudes a terrifying aura from hell. Do you know me now? Recognize. Recognize. Ah Bao twisted his body in pain. I scared myself to pee. Unfortunately, it's too late. Say it. Puzzy. Lin Wen stabbed Ah Bao's neck with a knife. Ho ho ho. Ah Bao covered his pierced throat and struggled a few times. Direct death. Leave no one behind. Lin Wen's deep and cold voice fell. The big head behind him and 20 explosive soldiers rushed forward in unison. Less than a few minutes. Close all the subordinates in the yard. Dead death, disabled disability. Broken limbs and arms scattered all over the ground. Intestines are everywhere. Blood stained the entire swimming pool red at this moment. The luxury mansion is still lively and lively. Ba Guan sat on the sofa in the center of the hall, following the rhythm of the music. Drinking red wine while dancing happily with a few horses. I didn't even notice the blood outside. While basking in the pleasure of drinking. Bang! The door of the mansion was suddenly pushed open. Everyone inside the house was stunned. Everyone looked towards the door. Who wants to die? Ba's interest was interrupted and he cursed loudly. Don't you know that I'm in high spirits? The result is the next second. Ba Guan was stunned. He noticed that the person who came in. Surprisingly, it is Lin Wen whom I have not seen in many years. And next to him is the big head who has been withdrawing from the club for many years. When did the two of them get together? However, Ba Guan immediately sneered. Sitting on the sofa, he said with a smug expression, once you were the big brother. But your era has passed, brother Wen. If you come out now, you need to have power and money. Lin Wen once held several venues in the old district. But he went to Kuyo once and now he has nothing. And he is no longer the submissive little brother he used to be. Now he is full of a grand and imposing demeanor. What he doesn't know is. His subordinates have all gone to the underworld by now. I used to be an antique boy. Ba closed a cigar and leaned back on the sofa, proudly continuing to show off. Now I'm wearing a suit and tie. Sleeping horse, collaborating with Liangkuan to sell laundry detergent. Your style is outdated. Ba Guan looked at Lin Wen with disdain in his eyes. But Lin Wen stood at the door, his face calm and indifferent. Seeing Lin Wen's towering demeanor as always. A hint of anger flashed across Ba's closed face. A person who has passed out of breath dares to put on airs in front of him. Brother Wen, let me tell you the truth. Ba Guan took a slow sip of his cigar and proudly said. Back then, you were arrested by the police. It's also a game I collaborated with Big Boss B. Chapter 9. Chop Ba close. Cash in. Shaohao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 years ago, Ba Guan pursued his own selfish interests. Fake to tell Lin Wen that he has found a customer. Unexpectedly, Lin Wen had no suspicion and went straight to trade. As a result, he fell into a trap and stayed in Stanley for 3 years. Whenever Ba Guan thinks of it, he feels very happy. Say it. Pop pop. Ba Guan clapped his hands directly. Let all the prepared little brothers come in. Next second. Wow. A group of people suddenly surged into the room. Just. This group of people. Everyone's whole body is soaked in blood, full of evil energy. Standing directly next to Lin Wen. Everyone bent over and respectfully greeted, boss. Seeing this scene before me. Ba Guan's originally proud face was closed. At this point it was directly linked to shockwave. He's scared out of his wits. This is not his person. He suddenly stood up and quickly looked out the door. By the light. He just realized now. Outside, on the ground, in the swimming pool. It's all blood red. His subordinates suffered countless deaths and injuries. They all lay outside the mansion, screaming in pain. Ah! Seeing the bloody scene outside. The woman next to Ba Guan was so scared that she let out a scream. Hurriedly and frantically escaped. The entire room suddenly fell into a dead silence. Look at all of this. Bobby was completely scared out of his wits. He suddenly remembered the Yen Luo from back then. That one person knocked down the entire Yen Luo in Causeway Bay. Ba Guan suddenly realized. Lin Wen, you're really back. At this point, a hint of killing intent flashed in Lin Wen's eyes. He guessed right. What happened back then was indeed related to Ba Guan. Just. Lin Wen immediately recovered. Quietly waved his hand. The big head on the side took a step forward and helped him light a cigarette. A wisp of smoke enters the nose. Lin Wen slowly spoke up and said, back then, you came out of the orphanage. I took you in and helped you establish a foothold in the club, even taking care of your mother's funeral. I treat you like a brother, and you. I almost died in a bitter kiln without saying anything. They even took away my hard-earned territory. Lin Wen spoke word by word. But the words were like sharp swords, fiercely piercing Ba Guan's body. What Lin Wen said is all facts. It is a fact that Ba Guan has completely forgotten. At this moment, Ba Guan heard the words. Your expression suddenly became flustered. Pop it. Ba Guan was so scared that he knelt directly on the ground. Crazy kowtow for mercy. As long as Brother Wen is willing to spare my life, I am willing to give you all the wealth I have saved up over the years. He doesn't care about any brotherhood. He has come this far and has long since stopped treating Lin Wen as his brother. He only wants to live now. As long as he lives, there will be a place in Causeway Bay for him to shut down. Lin Wen stared at Ba Guan for a long time without speaking. But Ba Guan seemed to see vitality. Quickly get up and take Lin Wen up to the second floor. Enter a room. Ba Guan carefully opened the cabinet. Boxes of cash were all taken out by him from inside. There are over 10 million in total. These are all his assets now. I will be leaving Red Star tomorrow. Ba Guan pushed all the cash to Lin Wen. I have a large market under my umbrella, a nightclub, a KTV, and all 3 bars are returned to you. His trembling voice was filled with fear. He is afraid. He knows Lin Wen's prowess. If he doesn't show sincerity, Lin Wen will definitely kill him. And Lin Wen looked at the cash in the box. I waved my hand calmly. Then a few explosive soldiers walked in. Moved out all the boxes. Then Lin Wen turned around and walked towards the door. Ba closed to see the situation. I was stunned for a moment. Lin Wen, did you spare him? Ba Guan thought and couldn't help but feel a burst of ecstasy. Kneeling down on the ground, he crazily kowtowed his head. Xia Wenj. Xia Wenj. The result is at this moment. Lin Wen suddenly stopped at the door of the room. His voice was deep and sharp. You are such a ruthless person. How can we live in this world? Say it. Lin Wen disappeared before Ba Guan's eyes without looking back. Ba Guan hasn't reacted yet. Next up. Cheers and cheers. 20 explosive soldiers suddenly rushed into the room. Ah! After a mournful howl. Within the entire mansion courtyard. Once again fell into silence. It seems like the chirping of insects in the distance can be heard clearly. A few minutes later. A explosive soldier walked out. Carrying a black plastic in hand. Dropping bright red blood out one by one. Upon seeing this, Lin Wen turned around and walked out of the mansion courtyard. The two and others followed behind and walked out. Who? Turning around, a flame ignited the entire mansion. The fire is spreading rapidly. In an instant, the flames engulfed everything inside the mansion. In the darkness, standing in front of a mansion, Lin Wen's face was illuminated by the towering flames, appearing exceptionally ferocious. Chapter 10. Eating, drinking, and closing your head. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That evening, Causeway Bay has a backbone restaurant and private rooms on the second floor. On the dimly lit dining table, Lin Wen sat on the chair, calmly drinking tea. Big Head sat on the side, quietly looking at the others on the table. These people are all the owners of the Baguan branch. There are a total of 6 or 7 people. Lin Wen's territory only has a large market, which can be considered Lin Wen's industry. Everything else is done in collaboration with the boss, collecting protection fees and sharing. These days, the territory of the club can be divided into 2 types. One type is the club industry. One type is a site that collects protection fees. These bosses have worked with Lin Wen before. Since Lin Wen disappeared, they have been cooperating with Baguan. I was suddenly summoned here by Lin Wen tonight. Their faces were all equally incredulous. But they are all old fogies and know what to do. Welcome back, Brother Wen. Everyone stood up with a smile and raised their glasses to toast. Celebrate the return of Lin Wen. It sounds like a celebration. To put it bluntly, it means finding both sides. Ping pong. The clinking of glasses is over. Everyone took a sip and sat down one after another. With a smile on his face, he reminisced about the past. Brother Wen, you don't know. In the years when you were away, our brothers still miss the past. The speaker is a bar owner. For Lin Wen and Baguan, he prefers to collaborate with Lin Wen. Yes, Brother Wen, everyone was satisfied with the math at that time. But now, the others also shook their heads one after another. Since Baguan took over the field, their number of transactions has doubled. Although I have earned more, twice the protection fee in income. Put some pressure on them. Lin Wen listened calmly and didn't respond. At this point, Wen Gu, where has Baguan gone? A boss surnamed he suddenly spoke up. I asked a question that everyone wanted to ask but dared not. Lin Wen's face calmly scanned everyone present. Then he smiled faintly and said to the big head, call Baguan over. Yes. The sound of the big head falling. Then came the sight. Big Head stood up and took out a black plastic bag from the ground behind him. What is inside is a round and rolling thing. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. Big Head, let's call you Ba Shu. Can you make a black plastic bag? Is it difficult? Ba is trapped in this bag. Boss, he was straightforward and couldn't help but joke directly. The others also laughed along. However, Big Head ignored it. Expressionless, take the things from the plastic bag. He fell directly onto the table. At this moment, Gollum. A bloody thing rolled out in one go. On a pale face. A cracked eye and a grown mouth. A look of extreme fear appeared directly in front of everyone. It's a closed head. Seeing this scene, everyone who was still laughing just now, I was stunned for a moment. Next up. Ugh. Several bosses on site were so scared that they vomited on the spot. Some people even scared themselves to wet their pants. Aphasia. Incontinence. Everyone, they were all scared out of their wits. At this moment, Lin Wen was sitting on the table. Watch everyone's reactions. But a faint smile flashed at the corner of my mouth. He knows there are some people inside. It is the Ba Shi faction. despite appearing obedient to Lin Wen on the surface. But in reality, he knows what he thinks. This approach is the best. Subsequently, Lin Wen rolled up his sleeves. I put a piece of meat in my mouth and said, "Wow. It's so hot." Then he picked up his chopsticks and said with a smile, "Come on. You should eat and drink. It seems that such things are already commonplace. I have already dealt with Ba Guan's lack of justice." Lin Wen's lively voice was mixed with a hint of sharpness. Then Lin Wen calmly raised his cup. "In the future, you will continue to work with me, Lin Wen, and I will not mistreat you." Lin Wen's words have just finished. The other bosses were scared out of their wits. Hands trembling, quickly raising a glass. Quickly respond, future site protection fees and sharing. We will all deliver on time. Say it. Gudong gudong. Everyone makes do with the wine in their glasses and drinks it all in one go. It seems that what was swallowed was not wine, but rather the hearts they almost want to jump out of. The big head on the side couldn't help but sigh upon seeing this. Big Brother's methods. Fierce. That's really ruthless. Come back a few days. By bloody means, we regained all the territory we had before. Moreover, after years of operation, these territories have become even more profitable. This time, it's a steady profit and no loss deal. He once again realized deeply. Big Brother from the beginning. I'm really back. The night is already deep. Causeway Bay, Marriott Nightclub, second floor office. Just returned from having backbone not long ago. Lin Wen sat on the office chair, holding a glass of red wine in his hand. Quietly looking out the window. Sitting here, you can enjoy the night view of Causeway Bay outside. At this point, the system suddenly sounded. Ding. Congratulations on obtaining territory and improving your strength. The level has been raised to platoon leader, and the number of explosive soldiers that can be summoned is 60, 10/60. Big Brother. Begging for flowers, not a single flower will rise. Begging for flowers, Little Brother explosive liver update to repay everyone.